Welcome back, boys and girls. Merry Christmas to everybody who's celebrating. And today, if you remember, JetBrains Fleet ID exists. 2 years ago, I think they rolled out the early access, and I got access to the early access. And quite frankly, it was very bad. I did not enjoy it. I thought it was better that they just kept it under the box for another year, because a year later, 1 year ago, I re-reviewed the fleet and it was a lot better. Ever since then, I was kind of using it on and off, just try open a random file, see if I can do anything with it, like a hosts file, bash file, etc. Sometimes things wouldn't work in VS Code. I'd open up Fleet to try to do the same thing, and Fleet would work sometimes. And then I was like, yeah, this is going to be way better than VS Code. And then sometimes it didn't work anyway. And then obviously it's like nothing works. Software is in decline, etc. But anyway, I'm going to be trying to cover three main things: code editor capabilities, things like trying to navigate code, trying to edit code, quick actions, etc. The second thing is going to be the tools. So things like terminal, Git, database connections, maybe other plugins, debugger, etc. We're going to see what is available to us. And finally, one thing that I think is really, really good in Fleet, from what I've been trying out, is the collaboration feature. Without too much to say, don't forget, if you're enjoying the video, leave a like and subscribe. If you have any questions, although you probably have more opinions, tell me if you've been trying Fleet. Do it in the comments, right? Or if you have any questions, also ask it in the comments. All right. With that, let's go ahead and get started. So I have Fleet already opened, and hopefully you can see over here I'm connected from another computer. So we're going to be looking at the collaboration session in just a bit. But I have a sample C# application. If you're coming from any other programming language, don't worry too much about it. We're also going to have some JavaScript over here. This is a Nuxt.js application. And first of all, you have some keybinds over here. I mean, you can press on them, not too exciting, but yeah. Let's say I can open and close these windows. I'm not gonna try to ramble on about minor quirks that this IDE has. So for example, I don't know if it's fair to call this an IDE. If I open up files and I just start typing app, it's gonna give me all the things highlighted with app, and perhaps try to open it as well, okay? So if I open up a panel and I just try to type in terminal, it's not going to work. I actually have to press enter to open the tool and then start typing in terminal. Okay, so just there are minor things like this which are like, just remove that step. That step doesn't need to be there. Okay, so we're in the sample application. This is, well, an integrated terminal. I am very happy when a text editor has a very good terminal integration. A lot of people who do C# are stuck in Visual Studio. Visual Studio doesn't have a good terminal support. You can open things in like a PowerShell integrated terminal in Visual Studio, but it is absolutely abysmal. You'd be surprised how bad it is. So anyway, I think clear doesn't work after you scroll. So again, yeah, just little things like that. Let's do npm run dev over here. We are running a Nuxt.js application. Let's say we're gonna go into the client, and if I want to create a new file, I can do it like this, or components / let's create a counter component. This is going to be view. Create a script tag, and don't worry if you're not familiar with view. I'll try to narrate this a little bit. I'm setting that the language that I'm going to be using in this script is going to be TypeScript, and I'm just setting a configuration of how Vue.js should interpret the code inside of here. Otherwise, it should be pretty self-explanatory. I'm creating a reference with a number 0, okay? And then the actual HTML that I want Vue.js to render, let's say it's just going to be a button. Hopefully you can see what is going on over here, right? I'm typing in button, I'm closing, and instantaneously I'm getting the next HTML that I should be writing. I don't really want this HTML, so my instinct is to press enter and, well, make it pop on a new line so I can actually type some text over here, but that's not happening. So again, just an annoying thing. So let's say this is count. One thing that you can see that's going on here is that if I put two curly braces, they don't get their closing curly braces over there. Anyway, let's use counter over here, and using counter, it does recognize that it should be using it. let's say on click, and I guess just another thing, click, and I press enter, it doesn't automatically put the double quotes, okay? And here, let's grab the counter and increment it. Now that we have the counter, let's go ahead and I'll try to go to app, so you get your navigation. One thing let's test this out. So this works in most text editors, so I would not be surprised if this wouldn't work here. So I type MC, it's my class, based on these capital letters, okay? But otherwise, I just want to go on the app, put the counter here. And one thing that some text editors support, you just press a / over here and this would disappear, but here you have to do it yourself. In VS Code, I will say this is very annoying sometimes when I'm editing HTML, or not sometimes, basically, let's say I'm editing this first tag and I change it to a paragraph. Here you can see both of the text change, and the second one is a little bit of lag, but it did change in the end as well. So in VS Code, only the top one would change, the latter one would just stay the same. So you have to perform the same change twice, or you would have to do like select next occurrence. Anyway, let's not ramble on too long on that. So here I have the application with the counter, and the counter is working. Okay, nothing too special. On to the .NET side, and actually maybe something worth mentioning. Let's say I want to open a counter in Vue.js. When you're running the application, all of your type definitions get generated into the .next folder. Okay, so with the navigation over here, you get taken to this file, which is crap, but not too bad. You can actually just pop over to this file based on the path. Okay, so it's a little bit of a detour. I think this experience is a lot better in React, where everything is just TypeScript. But nevertheless, that is what happens, and the same thing happens in VS Code. So I'm not really keeping score here. I'm just mentioning VS Code as something that we can compare it to. Okay, back to C#. I don't know if you're coming from a different programming language like Java or Python. In C# we have NuGet Package Manager. So instead of having to go and open the pip or npm website or NuGet website and search for a package, you can actually just search on for a package in a tool. Fleet doesn't have a NuGet package manager. You cannot download a NuGet package into your project, and you cannot browse NuGet packages. If you have Writer or you have Visual Studio, you have something like that. VS Code, I don't know if there is an extension for that, but out of the box, there is nothing to browse NuGet or npm, etc. The way that you would get packages is you would Google for your package. You would see the instructions on how to install it. You're never going to remember the name. It's some kind of namespace, etc. Searching for packages just helps a little bit, but it's always going to be something like @technology /package dash a subcomponent, whatever. You know, you're never going to remember it. New major version comes out, it changes. You don't want to remember it. So anyway, I think the future is bright though. You have things like the solution view, where you can view your project as a solution, right? And these things are side by side. If you want to switch from solution view to files view in Visual Studio, it's gonna be a whammy. You're gonna have to wait like 3 seconds between clicking buttons. Here it's pretty much instantaneous, which is a good thing. But anyway, the reason I mentioned the solution view is you're getting C# specific things. Maybe the NuGet package manager is going to be in not so distant future, but I would say for most C# developers, this is going to be a pretty critical thing. So anyway, here I have YARP, yet another reverse proxy, and all I really want to do is let's say create a new terminal. I'm gonna .NET Watch Run no hot reload for my .NET application here, and all this is going to do is start up a web API. All right, so on here I am returning number 10, which is just this object where number, I'm setting it to 10. I'm gonna place a breakpoint over here to demonstrate some debugging capabilities of Fleet. What I'm looking for is being able to serve this Nuxt.js application from this URL. Okay, I actually probably want to go to the HTTPS one, although this hasn't found the HTTPS URL, which should have been right over here. So this is really interesting for reasons I will mention in just a minute, but let's leave it at this. What I'm going to do is actually first go to CSproj, Let's come back over here. Let's grab the package reference. And actually, I'm getting some intel sense here. So add package, it's recognizing that it's a NuGet package. Let's see if it's going to do some kind of searching or something like that. And no, so this looks just like a code snippet. It's not going to do anything like, let's say, yarp dot, doesn't load anything. Okay, so copy pasta, here is my package. It is going to restore things automatically in the background, hopefully. Coming back to program CS builder, services, I want to add, I would say it's really annoying that this menu is really small to begin with. Let's see, after I've made it bigger, it's now bigger. So map reverse proxy, the option is here, and for some reason it decided to pop me over to the last line. What I actually want is to close off this function. Okay. Once we app map get, let's app map fallback, or rather forwarder. Okay. Down here, I will actually create a group. So on app map group, keeps popping me over to the next line. I'm not sure what that's about, but very inconvenient. With map group API over here, all I'm saying is I want my route to start from /API, and on that group, starting with /API, I want these routes. So this would now be served from /API. If we come back over here, there should be nothing here, and /API, I should be getting an object. And actually my application doesn't compile because I am not getting any errors over here. This isn't actually compiling. We wanna, I think that's how the convention goes. Open this and quickly grab the URL, copy it a little bit too much from the terminal, and put everything over here. This should restart. The application is running. Let's take a look at the API. There it is. Let's duplicate this and just make sure that the Nuxt.js application is being displayed over here. And it does. So we got the counter, and the counter isn't working. Perhaps things haven't loaded correctly. We do have some weird text over here, and it actually looks like I have messed up the route. So let me just quickly take a look at yarp. I think I don't actually have to place this over here. Okay. Let that restart. Let's have a look at this, and looks like the counter is working. Okay, so we're serving our Nuxt.js application and the API from the same endpoint. This allows us to go around course issues and simulate the production environment in some sense if we're effectively having a composed application on the same domain. So coming back to the application, one thing that I keep raving about is being able to decompile code and take a look at the source code. Here you can see that some erroring didn't actually work for me on the C# side. If I want to take a look at the definition, so for example, go to definition, it doesn't actually take me there. Okay, so if I want to take a look at my class, it is going to take me there, no problem. Map get, doesn't actually work. This is a complete deal breaker for me when IDEs don't have this. So anytime I want to look under the hood and see what's going on over there, and I am not allowed or I can't, I just close this and go back to using writer. Okay. So anyway, we have our little setup. Let's say we are going to add /test /API/test. We will return a new object where, I don't know, the name is going to be Bob. A very simple object that we're going to return from the API. So /API/test, there is our object. If I'm gonna go back to client app over here, let's add a script tag. Do the same thing, so setup a lang, and we'll say, actually, we probably don't need TS. We're gonna use the $fetch. So $fetch is kind of available in the Nuxt.js global namespace, same thing as with the ref. It's a thing that you would usually want to import, but you don't need to because Nuxt.js does it for you. So Fleet is capable of recognizing and finding these and displaying them to you. So I want to fetch from API/test. You can see it's trying to do something over here, but failing a little bit. A thing that Rider actually does is it's capable of realizing that you're attempting to make a fetch request to your backend, and it understands that this is a backend component, this is your front-end component, you're trying to make a request to your backend. It's actually going to realize what kind of routes you have and populate the value that you can supply here. So something very smart, something I've always, for some reason, been excited about and using. I was like, whoa, it can actually autocomplete my endpoints. Let's say we're gonna have the response over here, or actually const response. Let's say ref. There's gonna be some kind of state. This is probably better to be done like this. At the bottom, let's go ahead and display the response. Okay, and we'll do a then over here. And state dot value dot response set to R. Hopefully this is going to set the result. Let's see what's going on over here. So refreshing, here we can see we are getting some data and we're displaying that data. We can create a component, and this is basically meant to illustrate the development features of Fleet. They are not astronomically impressive, but it's the core and it's almost working. And I'm trying to be kind here because this is still early access. Fleet really does have some good features that are already working, and you can actually use this for your daily work, but it's still not as good as things like VS Code, Rider, etc. For one thing, I would say they have a very, very good run tool compared to VS Code, and let's actually take a look at how that works. So one thing, let's take a look at actions. Can I do attach to process? Okay, so there is a running process. I'm gonna try to attach it. Let's say I want to search for sample. There it found it, right? So it takes a little bit of time to find it for some reason, but there we go. So let's go to just /API, and I should hit my breakpoint. So this is what debugging looks like in Fleet. We got the variables down here, and you can see there is a variable n equals 10. The reason I put this here is to highlight that you get this debug console. In this debug console, you can interact with the state of your current application, or wherever you're debugging currently. Over here, I can go ahead and set n to something like 55. It doesn't refresh the variables over here. However, if I proceed with executing this application, it actually does change things in the background. Okay, so you have your debugging capability, and you can actually, reach your hands into the state there and, well, play around with it. Let's maybe try a little bit more and see how we get on. I'm gonna go ahead and try to create a new variable a. That is gonna be, I don't know, something like this. Object reference not set to an instance of an object. Can I create a variable? No, I cannot. Can I create a primitive? I cannot. I cannot just introduce random things into the space. However, I can interact with things that are in there. Now, as for maybe a little bit of a mention for the UI, let's say I take this, well, actually, maybe a better example would be something like this. I have this menu over here, and I can just drag it to the bottom and it disappears, right? I can't drag it back up unless I actually press a keybind to open it up. I thought you could do the same thing here. So I dragged it down, and how do you bring it back up? And you have to be a sniper over here, right? You have to, boom, you have to find it again. Anyway, the debugging experience is okay. You have the variables over here. You don't have things flying about on the main code screen. Some people prefer that. Some people don't like it. I'm okay with just having things over here, and I'm okay with things flying. So I don't have a strong preference, although this is very basic for debugging, and the evaluation window is pretty basic as well. You can attach the process, and now let's actually take a look at the run button. So I'm gonna detach the debugger, and this is actually my preferred way of interacting with my running process. So I go ahead, I start my application, and if I want to debug it, I don't start my application with a debugger, because the debugger is actually gonna take away some performance with the hot reload, etc. And if you have a running process with a hot reload, if you're debugging, it's going to detach the debugger automatically. So anyway, I like running my application and then attaching to debug it whenever I need to debug it. Let's close the debugger, and I want to run the application. It's Command R, and here it's actually capable of detecting the launch settings. I think 2 years ago, what you used to have is a custom folder, and that custom folder would contain the run configuration of the command that you want to execute. With .NET, you already have effectively your launch options, how you want to run your command, and this automatically detects it. I can go ahead and launch it from here. Let's see how that looks like. And by the way, when I'm running .NET Watch, no hot reload, this doesn't automatically pick up, for some reason, this configuration, which I actually wanted, the HTTPS one. Okay, when I do this, so let's say just run, from over here, from this list, I'm selecting HTTPS. And this is basically going to run my application the same way that it would run it from the terminal. So if I come back over here, this has started, and let me scroll down here to the HTTPS endpoint, and there we go. It still behaves exactly the same. So very, very big improvement on how you run your applications. And if you have simple things, by the way, in case you're wondering, external libraries, what is that? I have been basically trying to do something along the lines of this, main.py. Let's see if I can just add another language in here. Looks like it's loading a little bit. I don't get too much support just yet. So hello world, something has failed to start or whatever. Let's close it and open it again. Maybe we'll succeed. Basically, the first time I added it, it took like, I don't know, maybe a minute to start up or update some interpreter or whatever, and then I get a run button over here. But here, obviously, you can see it now crashed, and there's an infinite loading spinny wheel. You get the same in the README. You don't get a preview mode. But yeah, well, you'll have to take my word for it. What used to happen here is you get a play button. Let's go ahead and try the same. Maybe it will work here. I'll create main Java. There is a class, maybe Java main, probably can't be executed like a script. So anyway, let's go ahead and delete this. Let's go ahead and try to run the current file, and looks like nothing is happening. It seems like if your smart mode doesn't manage to do whatever it's doing in the background, it's gonna be no bueno, okay? Nothing's good gonna happen. So let's close the main.py. So yeah, that was the story behind the external libraries. I basically created main.py, it did some setup in the background, and then this folder appeared, and now right-clicking it, nothing, I can't get rid of it, okay? So it's just stuck there in perpetuity. So let's have a word about some very, very important tools like Git. Let's initialize a Git repository. There we have it. We're gonna take a look at Git over here, and this view, I very, very dislike this view. It's just all of the files in your list. You can switch this to a directory view, and this is pretty much supported everywhere, right? So if up to now you've been using Git integrations and you don't get this view, flip a switch in your settings or something like that. You actually need it. So git ignore. Let's see if we get any help on the folders or anything like that. So in Writer, it will be able to detect if you're trying to exclude a folder or what type of file this is, etc. Okay. So in client, I think there is a nested git ignore, so we don't need to worry about things like the .next and node modules folder, etc. So we got the two git ignores. Not many files change. Okay, so I had to click about for it to refresh over here. Here is the final things. So let's do a little init. And the main test for these sort of things is really a merge conflict. So let's go ahead and create a merge conflict. I keep opening these URLs over here. What I actually want to do is cancel. The screen's so big, it's actually very, very, very uncomfortable to use this ID. So I'm going to check out branch 1. We're going to go to, let's say, program CS. Over here, I'm going to change this to 11 and this to A. Doesn't matter that it compiles or not. Actually, I actually switched windows over here and it started showing the tooltip over there. Maybe some, parallel processes or asynchronous processes. But anyway, let's add all. Commit, let's say we're on branch 1, so just that. Okay. We'll then check out main and then new branch 2. Here we're going to do the same change. And let's say we're not going to change this thing over there. Okay. So again, we're just changing the program CS, and this is going to be 2. So now what we want to do is, let's say checkout 1, and we are going to merge 2 into 1, and we have a conflict. So let's see what this looks like. You can see that there has been a change here and here. It is smartly grouping them together. And one thing that it's doing is it's preserving this text that Git usually generates automatically. So let's say I want to accept this and this over here. Not a awfully complicated merge conflict, but hopefully you can get an idea that it has some kind of tooling to help you with these sort of things. Okay. So I did some kind of resolution. Let's go over here. I don't think there are any more conflicts. Mark as resolved. Test, commit, and there we go. I can obviously do everything through the terminal, and every single time I close the terminal and open it back up, let's say, no, it's doing it now. Okay, never mind. Basically, when I was closing and opening this terminal, it would scroll all the way back up, as you've just seen right there. After I written all these commands, I was back at the stack trace. Anyway, another thing that's super annoying. Here I am on branch 1. I want to switch my branch back to main. How do? I do it over here. I want to now merge a branch. How do I merge it? I can't right click it. It doesn't seem very obvious. You get a bunch of notifications. Disable those. You get a notification screen over there. Very, very distracting. So back to Git. There is some integration here, but not full integration. Like in Writer, I would be able to say, take this branch, merge it into this branch, cherry pick this commit, revert this commit. Let's see, can I reset? I can reset current branch to here, or I can check out this specific commit. I don't think there's going to be things like, let's say, go to 2. I have this commit over here. I cannot revert it. So limited Git support. For what's in here, it seems good. Nothing too revolutionary, okay? Now, for the collaboration session, let me go ahead, grab the other computer and rejoin real quick. Okay, so I'm going to follow this guy. He's currently in the terminal, and I'll tell you that this is not what the terminal is currently looking at. But let's say I do have access to the terminal. I'm going to type in clear, and this is what I talked about, just being scrolled to the top here. So usually terminal integration between sharing sessions is quite bad. So I'm actually typing ls on the other computer, and ls is popping up over here. Okay, so maybe I can demonstrate this by bringing focus on the file over here and then typing ls in the terminal. So you can see that I'm still focused over here. I haven't clicked over here. Okay, so I am typing from a different computer. Can I do things like .NET run and execute commands? Yep. Is it a security flaw? Whatever, I don't care. I find it very annoying that I can't join a collaboration session and you have to granularly give permission for everything. This is awesome, right? Pop in and you can just do things. I joined a collaboration session. Again, let me follow this guy and we're gonna navigate to sample.https. I don't know if these ports are exposed, so what I'm going to do is on the other computer, no, you're not going to be able to see it, but I'm going to go to HTTPS 7207, and it doesn't actually work. So port sharing doesn't work yet. Now, going to my class, this is a thing that most IDEs will horrifically fail. If you're editing the same file from 2 different computers, holy moly, you're in for a ride. If you're editing in the same region, it's going to be a massacre. So anyway, what are we going to do? On the external computer, we're gonna add ASDF at the top over here. And on this computer, I'm gonna add, let's say, QWER over here. If I go back on the other computer, it's gonna undo this change, okay? So even though that other change, I've written it after the external computer has written its change, it's appropriately removing that other change, okay? And this computer will appropriately remove this change. If we try to do this a little bit closer, I'm gonna go into my class and I will type, let's say 1, 2, 3. The other computer, I'm having trouble focusing my vision. Let's say in the middle of 1, 2, 3, we're gonna type 5, 6, 7, 8. Usually things like Visual Studio, VS Code will explode here, right? So if I go back on my computer, you can see that the thing that was typed there, and I will actually redo 1, 2, 3, 4, is around the thing that was typed in. It manages to remove it, no problem. And I gotta be honest, this kind of functionality is pretty amazing to just see work, and it's really the only edge case where if one person is working in one file and the other person is working on another file, you're just editing the same file system. It's no bother. It's whenever two people are typing in the same file and are doing and redoing things, and even if they're typing on the same line, God forbid you start undoing, changing lines, it really becomes a problem then, and that's where these collaboration issues with these tools really pop up. Let's try to collaborate a little bit more. We're gonna change the name back. Over here, I'm gonna go to Program CS, and let me actually follow this guy over here. With my class that I'm highlighting with orange over here, we are actually going to remove the using statement, and we're gonna go back to my class. The errors don't pop up on either side. This is probably something wrong with Fleet. But on this side, let's go ahead and see if pressing the wrong button. So on this side, let's see if I get any quick fixes. Nope. Let's do this. I'll cut the video, I'll restart, and we're gonna try this again, see if it works. Okay, we're back. So again, let's follow the game. We can see we're getting an error here now. I'm gonna drop down the terminal on this side. Again, follow the guy. We're gonna go and open, where is it? We're gonna go ahead and open Program CS. The error actually shows up on the other side. I'm gonna quickly check if I get any IntelliSense. I do get some IntelliSense. That is good. Now, one thing that is, I would say, notoriously terrible is auto-completion. Collaboration session here, auto-completion works, and actions. So let's say if I can actually do an import, it recognizes on the other side that I need to import a type of sample.myClass. Let's go ahead and import it. And it actually manages to add the using statement. Okay, so the file is not saved. Can I save the file on the other side? I did on this side as the follower. I cannot actually undo this change again because that is on this other guy's change history. I don't know how they do the change history tracking internally. But anyway, main.py, let's see if this thing will start again. Ah, yeah, and this is what I was talking about, right? You just get the run button, you run your application from here. Let's see if anything happens, and nothing does. So, well, at least we got halfway to the green play button. I think that is all I'm going to show you. Hopefully you can get a feel for the current state of Fleet. It is looking very, very ambitious, very promising. However, there are a lot of little things that are just like, why is this not working? Why did my C# helper or whatever server they're using to give me C# IntelliSense and compile time errors, why is that one not working? How did that randomly crash and didn't manage to recover? How is that possible? How is it possible that the main functionality didn't manage to recover? Why did I need to restart, right? Another big criticism for me is, where's my decompilation for C#? I absolutely cannot live without that feature. a very, very selfish thing for me to ask. I want that decompilation. And one thing I would say, very important thing that is missing, and that's database connections. In Writer, the database integration is super, super good and super convenient. I just think that it would be an amazing addition to Fleet as well. The overall conclusion for Fleet, it's not touching VS Code just yet. It is better than it in some places, but overall as a solid foundation, it's lacking that to VS Code. But VS Code is pretty solid, but you know, it's some extensions on VS Code are absolute trash, just like some integrations in Fleet is absolute trash as well. But over the 2 years, I would say it's shaping up to be a pretty good product. So anyway, did you enjoy the video? Yes, no? Leave a like, subscribe. If you have any commentary, if you have been trying out Fleet, please leave it in the comment section. Let me know what was your experience with the IDE. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and also a very big and special thank you to all of my Patreon supporters. You help me make these videos. Everybody who's celebrating, again, Merry Christmas, and thank you for watching.